Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Isn't it funny how sometimes I'll say something in a video and then a couple days later, I just get the perfect example to keep pushing that same point. Now, just the other day we were covering a clip with Cenk and Anna Kasparian essentially losing their mind like they always do, and I said in that clip that a great way to gauge how the far left is feeling, or the new age Democratic base, is to watch TYT and see how hard they're melting down. Well, you might have noticed the mainstream Democrat narrative has been, well, things are on the up and up. Incredible leader Nancy Pelosi turns the whole ship around, passing the infrastructure deal with 13 Republicans on her side. Joe Biden's agenda is saved and with it his presidency. Well, that's the narrative they're trying to cultivate, but of course it's as far from reality as it gets. The reality on the ground, the reality with the far left woke mob, is I would say far from peachy, to say the least. The best way to describe it, I'd say, is they are pissed. And where some individuals are a little bit more reserved in how they show their emotion, you won't exactly be able to tell, well, Cenk doesn't fall in that category. Chunk Yogurt seems to be losing his mind, tweeting non-stop, and I mean non-stop, for the last 4 or 5 days. The guy is completely unhinged, but probably still, of course, second place to Keith Olbermann. But let's delve into the liberal hive mind and use Cenk in order to gauge the temperature. We've got a lot to get into, but before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, a subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so funnily enough, it all started with a Tulsi Gabbard tweet. Tulsi Gabbard, once again the only Democrat, actually trying to make an effort to bridge the political divide, coming out with some real common sense takes, which of course, Cenk no likey. Tulsi Gabbard merely says that McAuliffe's loss is a victory for all Americans. Why? Because it was a resounding rejection of efforts to divide us by race, the stripping of parental rights, and arrogant deaf leaders. This benefits us all. I mean, wow, a Democrat who can actually admit why they lost. A Democrat who actually understands the voters based on the focus groups that we've been seeing, based on the polling data, etc. But Cenk didn't like that whatsoever. He retweets Tulsi Gabbard and writes, Tulsi Gabbard is an obvious right-winger now. And so is anyone who's still a fanboy of hers. Turncoats like this who are clearly doing it for the money and attention are truly sickening. Critical race theory isn't taught in any school in Virginia. You effing obvious liar. I mean, what an absolute clown. This idea that Tulsi Gabbard is a right-winger now because she believes in not dividing people by race or stripping parental rights, of course continues to show how unhinged the left truly is. But then he goes ahead and attacks Tulsi Gabbard for being a money grabber when she essentially committed political and career suicide by going against the woke crowd in the Democrat base. She ran as a Democrat, but condemned wokeism. How is Tulsi Gabbard, who dedicated years of her life to service, which newsflash, you aren't making $10 million a year doing, an obvious liar, someone who is just lying to make money and gain attention? Literally everything Cenk said is flat out false, especially the part where he says that critical race theory isn't taught in schools in Virginia. It literally is. In fact, a couple of Virginia schools hired Ibrahim X. Kendi as a public speaker to shill critical race theory, and had multiple programs that were being developed, which Chris Rufo exposed, showing that they were clearly trying to implement CRT in the school curriculum. Not to mention the tangent theories that of course have infected education across the board. Who really is the obvious liar and the individual who's just doing it for attention and making money?
If you're watching on YouTube right now, you hit the join button for $1.99. You support the show, and we know because you've got the emojis and the badges. And then guys, we're doing a drive now, tyt.com/go. We'll show you the thermometer on that in a second. I mean, I would love to get halfway there tonight. I believe we can do it. I know that's crazy to say halfway, meaning 200,000 for the month. I think we can get to 100,000 tonight. We wouldn't ask if we didn't need it. We got to sustain this coverage. That's tyt.com/go to make that happen.
I mean, what an absolute hypocrite, says the guy who's constantly paying for money, the guy who plays a character to draw attention, and the guy who pretends to support unions, while stopping his own employees from unionizing. But unhinged Cenk, of course, continues his warpath. Now, a lot of people are confused when I say this sometimes. Cenk focus in terms of who his enemy is not actually Republicans, but rather the Democrat establishment. And of course, as we have been covering for the last month or so quite intensively, and of course we've been covering it for the last 2 years, the Democrat establishment has thrown progressives under a bus endlessly. Well, Cenk is not too happy about that one. The meltdown continues. Cenk writes on Twitter, "The Democrats are incapable of making their own case. That's why they get clowned on the regular, even though the Republican Party is repugnant on nearly every single issue. The only thing Democrats are good at is viciously attacking progressives. No one hates their base more." Well, I'd argue that Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney probably do. But the point is that Cenk is getting increasingly deranged, unhinged, and launching a full-on assault on the Democrat establishment. Here's a little interaction that he had with Ro Khanna from California after Nancy Pelosi betrayed the Progressive Caucus and put the infrastructure bill on the floor.
And Representative Khanna, the mainstream press hates progressives. So every time an election is lost,
things are changing. They're not as
really. I just saw your interview with Jake Tapper. It was the most conservative hatchet job I've ever seen. He blamed you for not passing the bill when Manchin and Sinema are the ones who have prevented us from passing it for months and months and months. And then they run McAuliffe, the worst conservative Democrat in the party, and then they blame the left for losing the election. That's insane. When are you guys going to fight back? We're going to humiliate you because you should be humiliated because you destroyed the Democratic agenda and you did it for your donors. And it's obvious that you guys are not threatening that because they're walking around free as a daisy. They don't have any concern at all. And progressives have never shamed the corporate Democrats, have never challenged corporate Democrats, and that's why they steamroll us. Isn't all of that fairly obvious?
So let's just say progressives are big mad, to say the least. And they're actually sticking to this idea that Bernie Sanders and AOC have been putting out there, that the reason they're losing favor is because people aren't going progressive enough. Moderate politics just isn't working, and still living in this fantasy world where all of their ideas are the best ideas and everyone from every part of the country wants and needs more progressivism, despite election results last week thoroughly debunking that. I have never seen a group so hell-bent on power, a group willing to do and say anything in order to achieve their goals, and a group of individuals so deluded in my entire life. No matter what happens, no matter the consequence, no matter what you tell them, the response from Democrats is always simple. It's "shut up, bigot. I'm right about everything." Actually, I have the perfect example to make my point. Do you guys know who Michael Eric Dyson is? The guy who talks a lot, says a lot of things, says a lot of words, a lot of big words, but never actually says anything? Well, everyone who disagrees with him is a white supremacist. And even if you're black and you disagree with Michael Eric Dyson, well, the same standard applies.
A black mouth is moving, but white racist ideals are flowing from Kanye West's mouth. Kanye West is engaging in one of the most nefarious practices yet. A black body and brain are the warehouse for the articulation and expression of anti-black sentiments that have been chin-checked by people with far more rigorous credentials.
Progressives have completely lost the plot, folks, and luckily enough, they are losing momentum, losing steam within the political culture war like we have never seen before. And nothing could be better right before Christmas. I mean, what an incredible gift. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. Now, like usual though, I gotta get back to work. I wanna thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.